And along with him, we have Mr. Manish Sehgal, who is CEO of DBS Tech India. I welcome. I would like to welcome Mr. Nilesh Binawale, who is GM MD, VP Engineering Pattern. Let's welcome Mr. Santosh Kumar Yamsani, Senior Executive Director, BNY Mellon. Let's join hands to welcome Mr. Sidhu Sridhar, CVP Cybersecurity, AT&T. And we have Commander Divya Prakash Joshi, VP and Site Leader, Metronics. He may take a few more minutes to reach. Yeah, we welcome, please. We welcome Mr. Giri Gurjala, GBS India CEO and InfoSec Executive Bank of America. Please have a seat, sir. Before we proceed for this, the most awaited topic, GCC and most happening in the world, I would like to invite Ms. Prashanti Reddy, who is the leader of immigration law firm from New York City, USA. Please welcome, ma'am, to brief about the firm and your role here. I'm sorry, my apologies. That we'd like to invite Mr. Manish Verma to join the elite panel and give your valuable insight, please. Ms. Prashanti, please.
Hello, everyone. Am I going to get a hello? Or is there you go. Thank you. So my name is Prashanti Reddy. I'm an immigration attorney from New York City. And I'd like to welcome all of you to the GCC Roundtable. And just a little bit about myself. It's a privilege to be here. And I really congratulate ISF and all the volunteers, the hundreds of volunteers that they have. They've done a great job today, and I'm sure everything will continue really well the next coming days as well. So my name is Prashanti Reddy. I'm an immigration attorney. My office is in New York City, and I help companies. So if you have a company and you want to move to the US, I'm the person to talk to. I can help with US immigration and also help you start up your company there, put you in touch with whoever you need. I'm your one-stop shop to everything US. Even if you have individual needs, US immigration needs, you want to file a family immigration case, whatever you need to file. You want to file a B1, B2 visa, I'm your person. So please, I'm here. Please connect with me, and I'll hand it over now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prashanti. Now, what are we expecting from this elite panel? So here, the panel are going to give some glimpses about GCC, the Global Capability Centers, which are, we can rename it as Global Value Addition Centers as well. So now, I would like to hand over the mic to the chair, Mr. Botla. Please, the panel is yours for the next 1 hour. You can give the brief overview of this GCC, the policies that are available, and in fact, you can give some advices to the governments how we can take this efficient center of excellence, how we can establish across the globe for the better future of the community. Thank you. The mic is yours, please.
Hello. Okay. So good afternoon and a very warm welcome. I really hope that people had a very good lunch. My name is Prakash. By the way, the title is actually little inappropriate. I was the Managing Director for Career. I have recently actually come out, and I was planning on sitting in one of those chairs as a startup company because I'm starting my own company. And then they have actually said that, no, Prakash, you need to be sitting on the panel. But there was a change in plan last night, and they says you be the moderator. So I can probably play in all the 3 seats at the same time, I guess. But so that's Prakash. I had been in the industry of the GCCs back when it was not even called as a GCC. How many people actually know what is a GCC? How many people? Okie dokie. There were only like 5 people who have raised, maybe. So let me just give you a quick background. What is a GCC? Global Capability Center. What we are actually really talking about is these are the multinational companies who are actually trying to establish their presence in India or anywhere else as well, and what we are calling in India as the GCC, to expand their footprint either in the engineering or digital support in the digital transformation, or it could be for the back office support as well. That could be for the payroll, IT, infrastructure, networking, blah, 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 right? However, this setup that is actually called as a GCC for that parent organization belongs to the parent organization. It is not like an outsourcing model. It is their own employees who are enjoying the benefits, policies, employment of the parent organization, but it's just that they're operating out of India. And now let's actually talk about why is this important, right? Then I'll have each of the leaders who are industry veterans in their own companies introduce themselves, but more importantly, also talk about some of the cool work that they're actually doing for the GCC. Now, you are a startup company, and you are thinking that, okay, GCC, so let's actually pick on the far left, Medtronics, big company, medical company, and so you as a startup owner could be thinking that, okay, fine, I'm in the medtech space, but I don't know Medtronics, but I don't even know how can I partner with Divya. So Divya is going to be talking about some of the work that is actually happening out of his organization here in Hyderabad, probably about 5-10 kilometers from here, and he has built a fantastic organization from ground zero, right? And a lot of innovation is actually happening, and then you will actually see the synergy that actually happens between your startup company and what Divya organization through Medtronics, for example. Of course, we have other veterans here as well, and how to actually partner. So just going back to the GCC world, I had been associated as a part of the GCC over the last 2-3 decades, helping establish for my parent organizations in India and scaling those organizations with various functions. That could be engineering, that could be R&D, that could be digital, that could be finance, HR, payroll, et cetera, et cetera. So various functions. You can treat this as a miniature version of the parent organization operating out of India, either for the productivity or for the operational efficiency or follow the sun model. So for example, the parent organization is in the US, they're working like morning 8 to evening 8, then you're actually working in the morning our time, which is evening their time. You would be in a position to actually take the source code and continue for 8 more hours. So there are multiple advantages. One of the other advantages is the cost arbitrage, where the engineers here are extremely talented. Demographics actually is playing an important role for the Indian ecosystem. And more importantly, most of the engineers or most of the students who are coming out are also having the STEM background, that is the science, technology, engineering, and the math, which becomes even more appropriate for the GCC kind of the world. We have actually started this GCC journey in India, probably in Hyderabad, at least 3 decades ago, about 30 years ago, right? Being started in India, specifically in Hyderabad. Bulk of the GCCs today are located in Bangalore, and in a close race, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Chennai, Pune, and of course, Mumbai is also there. These are the top 5-6 cities where about 90 to 95% of the GCCs today are located. But why is this important for the Indian ecosystem? If you take a look into any of this GCC, today we have about approximately 1,700, 1,800 GCCs. You can say 1,800 multinational companies operating out of India. That's one side of the way we can actually always be like half glass full. But the other side is actually like 3/4 of the glass is empty, right? We are talking about only like a handful of the Fortune 2000 companies, less than 20-25% of the companies are actually in India, which means that there are more than like 1,500 companies out of the Fortune 2000 who have not even come into India. And the 1,700 GCCs that we have today in India across is closely creating about 2 million jobs, 20 lakh jobs. But that's one side of the white collar jobs that's actually being created through the GCC, but there is also a second paradigm in parallel, in conjunction, that's also happening. For every white collar job that's actually being created, the industry statistics says that there are 4 indirect jobs that are actually being also created. That could be a maid, that could be a driver, that could be going to the cafeteria, that could be going to a restaurant, that could be going to a shop, mall, theater, blah, 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 right? So there are 4 jobs that are being created. So every job, there is 4 indirect jobs that are also being created. Today we are talking about $65 billion export revenue from this GCC alone, and half of that is coming from the ER&D kind of a space. The CAGR is in double digits. That's the growth rate of this GCC is going to be in double digits. So net GCCs are going to actually play a vital role in terms of not only creating the employment, but creating the disruptions within this our entire ecosystem. 1, from the talent. 2, from the innovation. 3, from the overall employment. 4, actually also doing a whole bunch of CSR activities. And some of these leaders will also talk about some of the CSR activities that are actually happening that will actually uplift our entire society. So there are multifaceted impact that the GCCs have actually been doing. At least now you should know what is a GCC and what's the impact being made in our overall ecosystem. People feel excited? Can I get a little more energy there to say that, yeah? All right, very nice. Thank you guys. I know having this kind of a session immediately after a lunch is the toughest. And as I mentioned, I was on that side, then I got dragged into this side to be the panel, and then they made me the moderator. So now it becomes even more challenge for me to make sure that you feel excited about what is all this GCC about. So that's Prakash. And as I mentioned, I actually came out, and I'm now going to be helping the multinational companies who are trying to come into India to establish their GCCs in India as my own gig. This has been very passionate. I'd been really interested in this and helping the entire ecosystem. So I thought I'll do this as my own gig, as a startup, and help in the ER&D space. So that's me. I will actually go to Divya for a quick round. And maybe Divya, I think we only have one mic, but that's not working. Oh, it's working now. Perfect. So this is called real-time bug fixing. Perfect. Thank you. So the request to all the speakers, panel, eminent members is please introduce yourself, who you are, which company you are, and what your company is actually doing. And a lot of startup companies are here, and you need to really excite them to see where is the synergy between the company that you are in and the startup company, right? A quick introduction and some of the work that you're actually doing.
Hey, yeah, hi. Good afternoon, and first of all, a great opportunity to interact. But before I go there, my interaction with Prakash, we are part of the MChem XCOM, and he said, I'm Prakash, and I said, I'm Divya Prakash. It's like I'm Bond, and I'm James Bond. So that is where we started, so little light humor. So my name is Commander Divya Prakash Joshi. I have served the nation in Indian Navy for 21 plus years. Thank you very much. And had the opportunity to be part of the missile system, and had opportunity to meet a lot of senior scientists like Dr. Abdul Kalam and others. In Hyderabad, been part of the Arihant missile, which is the K-15 Sagarika, the nuclear missile, a part of it. Now it's declassified. So I belong to Bharat, as how I say, but have been in Hyderabad for 20 plus years, so I'm a Hyderabadi. So I came out of the Navy, joined a company in medtech space because I wanted to give back and see that what can be done. So I am in Medtronic, the largest medtech company in the world, with $30 billion revenue. We invest close to $3 billion in R&D space. We at Hyderabad, I started my journey from Indian Navy to this company as an engineering R&D employee #1. And today we are the largest innovation center of Medtronic, working across all operating units in Medtronic, which are 15 of them, in spaces of research, development, quality, design quality, supplier quality, regulatory, global operations supply chain, and global manufacturing, ops innovation, And recently we started a small group in global IT, which is more looking at value streams and SAP cybersecurity. So what the company does is more on 4 verticals, which is medical surgical, which is all your gut. Neuroscience is your head and the spinal cord. Cardiovascular is all your heart. And then you have the unfortunate that India is the diabetes capital and we have a diabetes vertical. We work in all the therapies, really doing high-end innovation work in software development, verification, product security, data analytics, and a lot of international regulations. And I'll just end before I give to the other esteemed panel and will be open to questions as we proceed. Alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life, not for each one of us. Across the world, every second, 2 patients are kind of an opportunity to be treated for a better patient outcome across the world. So great opportunity to interact, and we partner with T-Hub. We are looking at opportunities with the IIIT, NIT Hyderabad, and really the startup ecosystem. When we had the AIML Summit, I was so astonished and happy that majority of the folks were less than 27, 28 years of age. And I actually asked the age of a lot of youngsters, and I found that I'm getting old. So with that, back to you, Prakash.
Absolutely, Divya. And that's one of the key reasons why most of the GCCs are also looking into the ecosystem, right? Getting the talent, specifically in the newer disruptive technologies like the AML or deep neural networks, or in the RPA, automation, advanced technologies.
So we work in robotics,
awesome,
imaging and navigation.
Exactly.
So those are very high-end. There is a robo of Medtronic, which is for a lot of surgeries. 150 folks in this center work across high-end robotics. So it's just not doing something, it is an innovation center really making a meaning to the global parent company.
So startup companies in this auditorium, if you're in the medtech space, now you know who is the leader and who do you need to interact with. All right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll pass on the mic.
Okay, thanks Prakash and Dimve Prakash. Now I'm already enlightened. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in ISF, and I really felt the vibe here, that how the startup culture is. As Prakash said that he wanted to be that side, he happens to be this side, and then finally he became moderator. So this is called the agile culture. Be humble, be nimble, and be ready for any job that comes our way. So I'm part of DBS Tech India. So DBS, we belong to DBS Bank, which is the premier bank of Singapore, almost $100 billion market cap. We have really made a big profit last year. Piyush Gupta is our leader, and he has done a fabulous job in the last 15 years. He's the CEO of DBS. And he always believed in that tech is business, business is tech, and digital banking is the way to go. Whether the bank will survive or not, banking will survive, and that has to be individual banking. And that's the reason that he started investing a lot more into tech, and that's where the DBS Tech came. We started 8 years back in Wave Rock, and the initial ask was to have somewhere around 1,000 people or something. Today we are 4,000 strong people here. We are almost 1/3 of the DBS technology, and in fact DBS as a whole now have almost 40 to 50% of the entire workforce is a tech workforce, and we play a large role there. And it has been a startup culture in DBS whereby, while everybody in the Western world, in a developed country, they all were on mainframe, but DBS took a first leap of faith to get into open system, and that to OpenStack. And the last, like when we started in 2015, when this idea came to start GCC in Hyderabad, that time 80% of the workforce was through the partner system. Today, we enjoy 80% in-house development. We are doing development right from retail banking solution to corporate banking solution to treasury and marketing. We invest a lot more into our data side. The entire data lake that we have built, it is completely on, you can say, open source and completely built in-house. So this center is a driving force in Hyderabad, which build multiple product solutions for the entire bank. We have 5 core countries now. DBS has taken ELVB, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, in last 2 years, and it is a fully owned subsidiary now here. We have 600 branches. So while we have core market in Singapore and Hong Kong, but India, Indonesia, China, Taiwan, we are the Asian bank, and we really wanted to be in Asia and wanted to work with more of, you can say, startup within the Asia, how we can grow together. And with that side, we have actually worked earlier also with IIIT, ISB also, when we were building our own bot, chatbot. We built in-house bot, which we are like kind of proud to have it internally. Now, there's a lot more investment as everybody is doing on the AI side and in fact Gen AI side. Here the developers are really getting into that mode where we are experimenting a lot more how we can build product using the new technology stack. And these are the areas where when we work, be it on the data analytics side, be it on the how we enhance the productivity. And now, as I said, that digital has become a way for banks. Now, if any bank system goes down, it is impossible for the brick and mortar business to survive. So we really need to invest tech for tech. So now the time has come where we are also automating a lot more, you can say, development processes, monitoring processes on the observability side, how we can invest on this. I think that's our core area. And as I said that most of the product that we are building now for the bank, we are building with the mindset that one day we can even have a competition where we can collaborate with other banks, other financial services, where we can actually provide our solution. And Hyderabad has actually played a large role in that because now, as I said, that we are 4,000 people, almost 3,500 our perm staff, and all of us work as a startup whereby we really feel that how we can add more value to DBS. And actually, even yesterday, based on our interaction, SMBC Bank, who really wanted to start their development center now, they visited us. So we are becoming a reference point. And yesterday only they came to our office and they wanted to say how they can start the ecosystem here because the Japanese bank now looking India as a place where they can also build their GCC. So I think the success of GCC, as Prakash also touched upon, while we are still, you can say 10 or 25% GCC we have covered, I think if we can grow here, the chances of you be part of our journey will be high. And as I said that for our side, it is more on the data analytics side and on the how we can automate the entire DevOps process is what we are investing now. On domain side, anyway, we are covering quite a bit. So that's about us.
Thanks a lot, thanks a lot. And I'm really happy how the DBS Bank has actually grown in Hyderabad. I was fortunate enough to, like, for example, work with Divya when the Medtronic was actually being established in Hyderabad long time ago, along with the DBS, on the same lines with the DBS, sitting with your CIOs, CXOs, CFOs, talking about the potential in Hyderabad and how do we actually set it up. What are the ways we will be in a position to actually bring more value addition to the parent organization. And it's great to see how Medtronics has grown. It's great to see how DBS has grown. So fantastic jobs. Kudos to both of you for leading those charters and leading the teams. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sidhu. Before I make any statements, I need to take a disclaimer. So whatever I say here is not related to my current organization or my previous organization. So I'm not at the liberty of disclosing non-public information. But I'll be happy to have a conversation offline. So currently I work with a global telecom company where we have more than 20% of the global network passes through us. That's number one. Number two, prior to this, I worked with a financial services company for about a decade. And prior to that, invested about 10 years in management consulting. So I've been on both sides, both in consulting as well as an operator working in a financial and non-financial institution. So happy to have a conversation.
Thank you, thank you. As you know, AT&T, I mean, pretty much everybody should be knowing about the AT&T. If you are anywhere with a computer, with a network or anything, you should have already heard about this one. Great opportunity if you are in the telecom, networking, router, including cybersecurity. Of course, there are other leaders in the cybersecurity space as well, but
probably if I were to take some public information, the company which actually built the first computer, first phone, the coining of the word artificial intelligence, everything came from our organization.
AT&T. All right, thank you. And that was 75 years ago. So artificial intelligence is not really new. It has been there for 75 years.
74 years precisely.
Okay, 74 years, 6 months, 9 days. Done. Perfect. Thanks a lot. Nilesh?
Well, thank you, everyone.
Basically, today, right now on the dais, the exact number of how the GCCs are distributed in this country is the representation. 3 from Bangalore, 3 from Hyderabad, and 1 from Pune. So we are catching up. I come from Pune. I work for a company called Pattern. Pattern is the fastest growing e-commerce company in Silicon Slopes. Before I start talking about my current company, I would like to say, generally people who sit on that side aspire to come here. I have a different thought process. I am aspiring to be on that side because I want to be a startup. And I'll tell you why. In 1994, when I started my career as a startup. I started my first company then, ran it for 10 years. I started an edtech company in 1999. The name was rightstepahead.com. Maybe 16 years before Baiju.com. I had my other company, which was similar to Shadi.com, a matrimonial market, which was mangalghatika.com, kind of 3 years before Shadi.com. Well, I always say that my failures were much bigger than my successes. And I'm proud of those failures. But I'll tell you something, the learnings that I got from my startup, I was really able to apply it across my career and build my career of 30 years. I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now. And just to tell you, right now I'm a managing director and general manager for Pattern. Before that, I used to work for a company called Schlumberger. Schlumberger is a 100-year-old company. It's $350 billion company, 1 lakh plus people working into it, working in 85 different countries. And when Pattern came to me and said that, would you like to join us? I said, what's your valuation? And they said $500 million. And at that time, I was head of quality, governance, and technology. The cloud was with me. My budget for my team was $672 million, and this company was valued at $500 million. I said, come on, I'm not going to join it. Before joining Schlumberger, I used to work for a company called Allscripts. I used to work for Microsoft, and I used to work for a company which was, that was a startup, ImagePoint, which was started by CDAC people. I have worked with Dr. Vijay Bhatkar, and I'm very proud about that, the person who helped in building our first supercomputer, Param. But when Pattern came to me, I said, why the hell should I join? And then I realized that this is the right time for me. Pattern is one of the fastest growing company. It is making a product. So basically the product that we have is, we have a complete platform which helps you to sell or accelerate on e-commerce. So leaving a company like Schlumberger, which is $350 billion company, I joined this company, which is $500 million. And it was only 20 people at that time. And right now, today, we are 400 people, just in span of 2 to 3 years. And by the time I come next time to Hyderabad, we would be 700 people. It's not only about number of people, but it's also about the revenues. So we have the revenue of $1.8 billion, and we are growing at a very fast speed. Of course, e-commerce is the fastest growing domain right now. So I understand the startup world. I understand the scale-up world, which is a company which is cash positive, but having a startup culture. I have a GCC world, which is a grown-up company, completely a mature company. So that's the reason I say I aspire to be sitting on that side, because once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. So this is a wealth of experience over here. So I'll try to add a perspective from my side also. Everybody is able to hear me, right? Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, thank you. So similar to Sidhu, actually, like there are certain things that I cannot disclose from a company perspective, but I'll try to be as abstract as possible. So a little bit about my background, and then we'll get to what I currently do, and a little bit about the organization as well. So I'm an engineer at heart, of course, with an IIT background and then an Ivy League background. And after that, tried my hand at different types of technologies across different types of business domains, finally landing into the financial services domain. I've worked with a couple of GCIPs already, currently also with the GCIP. And probably I will focus on, and at the same time, I'm also currently actually like a part of a core leadership group for a foundation called as the Quality Engineering Foundation, which is actually the aim of that particular foundation is to actually bring together the global engineering community, especially quality focused, and make sure that we can actually collaborate, innovate, and empower each other in this testing times as well. Of course, my focus is not going to be on that today. It's going to be my experience with some of the organizations that I have worked with. So coming to GCCs, of course, right? So where did the need for these like organizations or GCCs come into the picture? I'll probably start to focus on that, right? Like the need was actually to create these global competency centers with aim on certain types of competencies. Like it could be R&D, it could be in terms of operations, it could be finance, accounting, human resources, etc. All these different aspects of the business for running a business together, and they wanted to actually develop organizations like financial organizations like the ones that I've worked with. They also have GCIPs both in India as well as globally, actually. Not just in India, actually. This culture is there across the globe, even if you look at countries like Poland, Philippines also. And off late, I think they're actually taking a mix of both sides of the coin, not just focusing on one country, but they're actually distributing their GCCs across different countries. Of course, they have their reasons for that. Coming back to some of the things that I personally feel we can do better, that's what I would like to focus on, because we have already talked about what GCCs do. Some of the things are, from a talent perspective, based on my experience with GCCs that I have seen is, there's a lot of focus on increasing the volume of the people and the kind of, but a lot of times we miss on the quality of the delivery, right? So that is something that I think we can do better. And if the startups or any of the startups that are actually going to empower these GCCs are going to actually help with that, that will definitely help. There are other aspects of that also that I can focus on is talent. Identifying the right talent for the right kind of skill as well as the right kind of competency that is needed, and also the skill development, right? There's also the inclusion and belonging angle also that you have to focus on. Basically, not just actually trying to get one type of people, but making sure that you're going into tier 2, tier 3 cities also, and diversity across basically gender, also in terms of diversity in terms of thought. There's also certain initiatives that some of the GCIPs that I've worked with have also invested in, is called as like sometimes neurodiversity, diversity in terms of other types of folks who actually bring into that particular equation. All these things are actually helping, will help these GCCs deliver even better, I would say. Having said that, if you have any questions with regards to actually how GCIPs operate, I can actually answer those questions offline. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Manish. I work for a company who is into storytelling, and we have been into storytelling for almost more than 100 years. We just completed 100 years last year. We produce content to entertain our users, to inspire our consumers, and we do that, and we are continuing our journey and legacy. We produce the content like Batman, Superman, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, endless list there. So the company is Warner Bros. Discovery. I work for Warner Bros. Discovery. I am leading their global streaming technology center in India, which is spanned at 3 different locations, which is Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad. Of course, we have other GCC functions, which are enabling functions and enterprise technology functions like IT, finance, admin, enterprise technology groups, and things like that. But I am leading, which is business technology, powering our Max OTT platforms. And the purpose of setting up the GCC in India was not really to set up at a low-cost center. I think India has emerged as a technology powerhouse. We are a country of having 800 million plus internet users. The kind of data and the traffic we are generating, which is unheard of globally. You might have seen various sporting events happening and breaking the record of concurrency every year. And that has unlocked the immense talent in the country, which is in around machine learning, around data, around building the scalable systems and the platforms, low latency, high concurrency systems. So I think our idea of building the innovation hub here in India, which is powering our Max OTT platform, is to leverage the immense talent we have in the country And that is the reason we have set up our center at 3 different locations. In Pune, primarily because of the acquisition of the company. So our GCC is not only enabling function. We are, and as Prakash was mentioning, it is all about innovation. It is all about creating value for the business. We acquired a company, and whole of advertising platform is completely driven from Pune. I mean, we are running that platform, and in fact, we filed our first patent out of Pune, which is around advertising, and that too in the last 2 years. So our GCC is pretty new in the country. We started during COVID, and since then we have been ramping up in different functions. So advertising is one. We developed the player which is catering to more than 60 to 70% of the global traffic out of India. There are other functions around machine learning. There are other functions around analytics, and plenty of, I mean, practically pretty much around all the technology functions. What we do is to create the self-sufficient and empower functions here, which own and drive certain technology verticals and start creating values and building values for the organizations. And that's how we are set up. Little bit about myself before moving to Bangalore. So I was in Bombay, which is West, prior to that, and there I was working for Sony and Viacom and a couple of other media companies who are into the business of streaming. I've been into North Delhi, working pretty much for the similar type of companies on the internet. So as Dev Prakash mentioned that he has been into Hyderabad and Hyderabadi at heart, I see myself, and I have worked in Calcutta as well. So I think I've pretty much covered all North, East, South, West. So I can say I am Indian at heart. I've worked pretty much across all the four sides of the country, and yeah, and happy to work with you. And just to add on the startup side of it, we pretty much work with academia and the startup ecosystem, because we feel that some of the talents which is not available to the enterprises like us, because that's a core domain expertise. And what we feel that some of the areas which are around business technology, the guys who are talented and niche in that area, they've started their own companies, and they are pretty much domain experts and SME in that area. We partner and want to kind of associate and see that how we can incubate or fund some of these startups who can work with us and join hands to create value for the business, what we are doing. We've also started, we've already tied up with one of the academia in Hyderabad, and we are already working with them on one of the research problem around the speaker diarization, which we want to solve when it comes to the captioning and subtitling. So I think a lot of work is happening around research, academia, and with the startup ecosystem, and happy to have the conversation offline if that really helps in any of the startups or anyone here. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Manish. I mean, this has been fantastic. I mean, leaders, including the entrepreneurs in this particular room, you have actually seen the kind of the expertise and the kind of the work that each of these veterans through their organizations are actually doing, and the impact they are already making, right? This is very, very important for us, right? And now if you are now getting into the shoes of the entrepreneur, or if you are getting into the shoes of the startup where most of the people are here, they actually bring a lot of value. They are bringing disruption. They are bringing innovation. They are bringing technology. They are actually thinking about places where, though we are veterans in our own space of the GCC, we have our own blind spots. We might not be in a position to see them or move at their speed. Absolutely. We have our own policies, what we can speak, what we cannot speak. We have our own in terms of what we can do, what we cannot do. There could be a 10 different, 100 different approval process before even, say, $100,000 has to be invested, but that's not the case with a startup. Boom, the CEO actually, or the owner actually decides at 9 a.m., 9:01, the execution is on. It better be on, right? That's the speed that they can actually bring in. So now, leaders, You know the strengths, what the startup companies can bring it to you. And you know how your organizations are actually operating, right? Precisely and concisely, I would request if there are any specific examples, I don't want to do it as a round robin like I go with each one of them, but if there are any 2 or 3 examples that you can quote in terms of, hey, you know what, this is the gap that we have actually seen within our organization, and this is how we filled that gap in our organization through a startup. That could be a research work, that could be a solution, that could be a product, that could be anything, I don't know, right? Whatever you can share, because of course there is a lot of confidentiality, blah, blah, blah. So I do respect all those things, but if there are any specific examples that you can actually talk about what exactly was the lacuna gap that you had within your GCC and how a startup was able to fill that, it will be very useful for the startup companies to start thinking on those lines if they have not already thought it through, and then they would be in a position to connect. So anyone here, please.
I mean, without taking much private details, I can speak to it. When I was working for financial institutions, obviously every financial institution will also have investment banking arm too, right? So one of the areas was, particularly in cybersecurity, the importance of timely threat intelligence is very, very key. And then the threat intelligence comes from various sources, and it is not easy to assimilate, correlate, and have a comprehension around what intelligence is relevant for your organization in terms of vulnerabilities, right? So my previous experience was one of my prior bosses has looked at it and then looked at very unknown kind of a startup those days, which was probably around 10 years ago, and which became probably now one of the top 1 or 2 cybersecurity firms today, which is public. But he called in, we had conversations, and we used their threat intel feed for us to analyze how we are looking at from our organization standpoint. And incidentally, when they were going public, we actually ran the book for them, and we made money on it at the same time too. So that is one thing. It's not necessarily from a GCC construct standpoint, Prakash, but it is from a broader mothership, right? That's one example I could tell. And the other one, potentially, that we could see right now with whatever is happening in the last year plus on the so-called generative AI, right? Every organization, each of us predominantly over maybe 50, 60, 100 years, some of us more than 150 years. So the amount of data, that insights, and the kind of inability at probably not the right word, inability, but the timely ability to have an insight that either can be monetized, or either the risk can be reduced, or maybe a better decision making can happen. And these 3 common use cases are for every industry, every sector, whichever you take it. As long as, we were talking about some of the people that just now Manish mentioned, that these startups are their own business domain expertise people. So if they have that kind of a background and then they can come in, I know large organizations will all have challenge to, take them along quickly because of whatever the underlying, policy and related matters are, but that's one I can definitely see any good data insights company can provide.
Any other example?
So at any point of time, I think speed, quality, and then also, what was the other one? Cost, right? So basically, these are the 3 things where they can play a role, right? Nothing else. It boils down to speed, quality, and cost. So you always have to have perspective across these things. So a couple of examples I can quote, my previous organization, another GCP that I worked with. So it ventured into consumer banking side of the things, actually. It was never into consumer banking, but they had a very aggressive, timeline in terms of getting into the consumer space. So buy versus build kind of a concept over there at that point of time. So there were certain things that they were willing to build on-prem, basically customize it to their needs. But at the same time, they were also willing to actually get some capabilities from outside as well. One of the capabilities that I can name is basically when it comes to it, even though it was a small capability, but it is a startup that actually played a big role over there, was with regards to managing your, the way you actually deal with your mobile SMS and OTP related kind of things actually, right? So that is one place where we actually tied up with Twilio, right? So to actually deal with that as well. There was also another place where we actually took the approach of actually buying a startup also, like for example, to get that capability integrated into the ecosystem to even PFM capabilities actually, like personal finance management capabilities into that. Similar to that, another organization that I have worked with also actually looked into blockchain space. So not many people actually had those capabilities. So those capabilities built in-house actually, right? So they decided to actually go to a startup to actually like integrate faster. So again, what was the reason for that? The speed of basically getting those capabilities integrated into the system was the driving factor over there. Of course, quality of the service also mattered, but of course, those speed and quality were the two reasons that they went over there. Yeah.
Hello. Perfect. That we exchanged. That's agility. Okay. So basically, I'm going to talk about the example of what we did in patent recently. And this is example of patent started in 2013, and we were growing, and we were taking some different steps for it. And there were two instances where we really wanted to take this decision, and I'm going to talk about that. Patent is an e-commerce company. But when we started, our CEO and our CTO, they were looking at the entire e-commerce industry through technical glasses. What should we do to enhance through the technology? So the entire conversation used to happen on technology. But after running it for 3-4 years, our CEO realized that there's a lot of creativity that is required in this business. And they wanted to hire some creative people. Now, a technology hiring a creative people is a very funny scene, right? People who are most logical are trying to find out people who are most artistic. It didn't work out. And then they decided that instead of really looking out for people and building the in-house team, they went for a startup, which was called Enlisted at that particular time. The owner of that particular startup had the vision on a creative side, which was a big time. And we went ahead and bought that particular startup. And pattern, which was leapfrogging, the growth was there. We started doing pole vaulting because that was a huge gap. So a startup coming into a growing company can really do a pole vaulting and not go on a frog leaping kind of a thing. And we did this 3 times. There was another time when we really look at our books, and there was a software which was for digital asset management or product information management called Salsify. The kind of money that we were paying to them was so huge, and we wanted to be fiscally very prudent about what we do. Of course, everyone has to be. And then we decided that if we really have to be prudent here, we went ahead and bought a company called Amplify, which was similarly working on. But we got the industry know-how of DAM and PIM. And again, there was one more pole vaulting. And that product now we are also coming up as a SaaS product. So I think startups coming along with these GCCs are really helping big time for us to do the pole vaulting.
Awesome, awesome. I think that these are extremely important, right? I mean, not to give in one-to-one kind of a comparison, but treat a GCC like a huge elephant, and maybe a startup like a nimble rabbit or any other smaller, agile kind of an animal. I think there is a value addition in this entire ecosystem. What an elephant can bring, a rabbit can't bring, and what a rabbit can bring, an elephant can't bring it to the stage. But then, if I were to be actually getting into the shoes of a startup who wants to really partner with a GCC because I have a fantastic idea, I found a gap in your particular product portfolio, and I know that my solution can fit in. If I were to be a startup, one of my questions that I might have, or one of my concerns that I might have, is that saying that, hey, you know what, these guys are so big, if I come out with a particular idea or propose that idea, what is the guarantee that they'll say that, nah, this idea is really bad, but they can turn back and in a flip of a second, they would be in a position to do it by themselves because They have the armies and tons of money to actually do that. So now, going back to the startup ecosystem, as GCC leaders, how can you actually say that, of course, you are ethical, you are compliant, you have the policies, you have the NDA, you have the legal, you have blah, 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 blah. But is there any way else that you would be in a position to say that, you know, hey, trust, or how do you make sure that they feel comfortable? Divya was ready, so Divya, over to you.
No, so, yeah, hear me? No? Yeah. So, you know, maybe before I go there, there is a plethora of startups that I've seen working in data, software application. But there is always a dearth of GCCs actually working on a device or more like. So what we say in Medtronic is what we diagnose, we treat. And therefore, a lot of startups that we work through the T-Hub, they present. And what I do with my team is connect to the global operating unit or the business unit to see is there a value. And if there is a value, what can be done secondary.
Awesome. Startups, I'm hoping that you're actually hearing this. This is going to be how, not just, I mean, Divya is talking about Medtronics or giving an example of one GCC, but this is how most of the other GCCs could also be operating. So please make a note of that. Thank you, please.
And one more point is, as you go to a lot of these summits, like the AIML summit, the BioAsia, which happens, I'm talking more from pharma, life sciences. You meet people, you get an idea, you connect, and then call them over and have a discussion without any guarantee of any funding, any guarantee of accelerating or taking to the pipeline. But if it's to a stage that it can go and make a difference, it is great. I'll give an example, and before I hand over back to you, Prakash, is being from the armed forces, and I was going back in endoscopy, there is a product that Medtronic has known as the Pill Cam Genius, which is all AI, ML and all. You swallow the pill in the morning, comes back out in the, in the next day morning. It takes all the images through your various, digestive tract. There's a programmer, and it gets, and then the clinician is to get a lot of data, they will see. And this is basically to look at polyps before the colon cancer, right? Before you go for colonoscopy. Now it is so data, their AI/ML has done so much that the clinician gets only 6 inferences and can get just one saying, this is what it thinks, what you do. So a clinician, an engineer, which can be a biomedical software, and that track of the patent for that is from a company. Originally, the engineer who is now in part of Medtronic was a missile engineer working for Rafale missile systems in Haifa, Israel. So it can happen that startup has an idea. So I'll just say for the folks who are interested in healthcare, medtech, life sciences, what is the disease state? What therapy can be delivered? What technology is being used or can be used, or you got a better idea? For that technology, your own in-house modifications or in adjacencies, and then what functionalities comes, and then comes the software part of it. So awesome. All this digital, for me, is very helpful, but it comes at the other end and not at the stand. And both are equally important.
Absolutely. Great point, Divya. Anything from this side? Yes, yeah. Please.
So I think at Warner Brothers Discovery, we feel that the startup ecosystem, research and innovation is part of the culture, which is included in our guiding principles, which is like dream it and own it, right? Create what is next. I mean, these are the 2 guiding principles, and how it helps us to sort of keep on innovating is to create an entrepreneurial culture in the company, in the organization, while you still need to run the business. I mean, you can't really disrupt the business. You need to keep on thinking that how you can create those small innovation which can really start adding value to the business going forward. So we create a small teams and the center of excellence within the GCC. They start working on a problem. They start solving that business problem. And that is what I was earlier mentioning, that the first patent came out of our Pune office, which was around advertising, right? Similarly, we work and partner with the startup ecosystem. They come up with the ideas and innovation which really helps us to raise the bar of the way people are consuming content and the way we can entertain. So one such example is recently, I think we have had the sign language on R2 of the content, right? Because there are specially abled people, they may not be able to read also your closed captioning or subtitle. They need to understand the sign language, how we can innovate and how we can create those sign language which can really be helpful. Some of these areas wherein we need to really invest time and need to start thinking. This helps with Academia partnership, creating the local center of excellence is small within the company, partnering with the startups and things like that. So I think that's how we are seeing the startup, and I feel they are integral part of the overall ecosystem. It's not, we don't see startup out of the ecosystem. With them, I think it gets all the fuel into the economy, into whatever we are doing.
Awesome. No, this is great. So we heard about what is a GCC, what they do, the gaps or the blind spot of the GCCs, how the startups can do. And then we saw some of the examples that have actually mitigated that or actually solved that. We also talked about how the GCCs are actually cooperating or collaborating with the startups through some examples. Question is, do you have any formal process within your organization to nurture these startups? And that could be for a monetary reason, that could be for a societal reason, like an NGO or a charity, or that could be for talent built up kind of a reason. Do you have any formal structure within your organizations? If any of the startups were wanting to go through that kind of a process, do you have anything?
Maybe from a CSR standpoint, I can speak to it. For example, AT&T for the last probably 7 or 8 years, at least in the couple of states that, both Telugu states, an idea came from probably a couple of individuals, and then worked with one of the best known eye institute in the world, which is L.V. Prasad Eye Institute. They've done multiple things. One is actually looking at literally about 10,000 high-end surgeries for patients who can't afford the surgery. That's one point. But the amount of collaboration required for L.V. Prasad Institute to pipeline these patients and make sure that the scheduling is done and the funding is done, that's one part of it. The second part is actually, with the same idea, helping the healthcare institute to innovate, to identify a potential future eye issues from the homes of the villages. That's something is being funded, which is going to be an innovative product that people could use. Of course, there are other AI solutions that are available, but it is, as I said, it's not just relevant to the business, but even from a corporate social responsibility as well.
Yeah,
Hi.
Manish.
Yeah, Prakash, if I want to add few things. Like I said that DBS Tech is a technology arm, but DBS Bank is also here, which DBS Bank India Limited, which is wholly owned subsidiary, is the first multinational bank who has a wholly owned subsidiary in India, and we have 600 branches. So one of the things, like what we are looking, as part of the impact beyond banking, even our CEO has committed a $1 billion for next 10 years to invest in the area of where we can go for the underprivileged side, people for the needy, where we are actually connecting with the startups who work on the financial literacy, who work on taking care of the people with you can say aging, and how we can help. So there are multiple stories. You can even go to our site DBS Spark, where you can really see that how we are actually connecting with the ecosystem partner who are really making an impact into the society. And there is a huge amount of funding is there. While we, from a CSR side, all of the GCC invest, our vision is more on the sustainability side, more on the financial literacy side, and for the, you can say, aging population across Asia and India. Also, we have a good presence, and we are working with the startups there in the area of when they are really making an impact into the society. So that's the other way we can connect, not only on the technology side, but also on the well-being that they are taking care in the society, and they want to work with us on that area. So that's also there.
Very nice, thank you. Anything from this side? Okay, perfect, thank you. I know I have been, hello? Yeah. There seems to be an echo. Yeah, you getting? Yeah, okay. I have been instructed that the IT Minister for Telangana is likely to be coming in the next 10 minutes or so. I don't know when his schedule is, but he has another flight to catch, or he needs to go to another meeting. So he will be here for a short time. I didn't want to abruptly end this kind of a panel discussion without giving some time for the audience as well. Audience, any questions to the GCC leaders? Yes, please. Is there a way I can actually get a mic to the participant over there? I will be your repeater. Please go on. Sorry, I can't be your repeater. You need to repeat.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, GCC is being very large companies and thousands of people working around the clock, like you mentioned. So how is their productive time captured?
I mean, I'm the moderator, so I'll not answer that one. Let's actually go with the panels.
Okay, it has always been an area of investment where, being a large GCC, as you rightly said, productivity and the efficiency of the individual developer or the contributor, how we do. I think while we have our systems to track it, but if there is anything specific that you have from the technology side, then we can always look at it. And I said that while I touched upon more on the bank side, how we can do, but even otherwise, knowledge management has always been an area where we wanted to invest more on how the new technology is helping to build that kind of a capability. But on the time, productivity is an open area for all of us to look all the time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe productivity standpoint, I probably can sense where you are getting at. Being large global organizations, there are certain things that certain organizations can do, and there are certain things that some organizations can't do. You know, we can't necessarily put systems in the end user compute to say how much time they are actually working, right? That's why, you know, there is called the company mission and vision statements, the policies, governance, and team engagement, all those, and the trust factor, which is most important. And it would be visible if you have a team of 10, 15 people, and then you have a manager. You will know the outcomes. You don't necessarily have to look at how much hours that the person has actually worked on the system and what is the KPI and all that kind of stuff.
Now, the main reason why I asked that question is most of the studies says that manually timesheet tracking, that's actually there for all companies, most of the companies. They actually spend around 10 hours per month, one employee on an average. So like companies like 1,000 people having
10 hours per month.
10 hours per month in filling their timesheets manually.
Oh, so no. So maybe you are right. Somewhere it is happening. God knows. But
Yeah.
I come from a company where focused on accelerating innovation and making an impact. There are milestones. There is no policing. It's an innovation culture. If research and innovation has to happen, there is no tracking. People, the talent is awesome. There are always cases that will take some advantage, but overall at a 95% plus, folks are really focused on what is the outcome, and they really do. So I don't think there is any time tracking or monitoring or policing.
So let me just add to what Divya was talking about. A lot of companies that I have actually now seen are actually getting let go of this time tracking and everything. You're a professional and you behave professionally. We expect you to get this deliverable, and we expect that it will be done, right? So they're not really getting into how many hours, because somebody can actually sign the timesheet, go inside the bathroom or go inside their office and watch a Netflix movie, right? Who is watching, right? True. So the definition is not when you sign in and sign out. The definition of the productivity depends on the company. For example, a finance back office company's GCC could be in terms of how much of a revenue am I collecting from my customers, or how many transactions am I closing, or how many calls I'm making to the customers. As compared to an R&D center, that could be how many patents I'm creating, how much of a disruption I'm creating, how much of a bottom line impact am I doing, right? So it depends on the company to company, but most of the GCCs are letting go in terms of, I will kind of.
Maybe a little nuance to it. For example, if there is a team of 10 people and maybe 2-3 people are working on building a brand new product, and then there is a budget to it, and how you account for that budget and how much time. To that extent, probably people will charge to a specific code, which is for your financial accounting standpoint, not necessarily for the effectiveness of the time usage of the individuals.
I'm Srilata Shankar, and I agree to all the points that you mentioned. timesheets filling up has become extremely professional. I mean, not just timesheets, but any and every work done by executive to the CEO is extremely professional. Yes, you have these lethargic people, but those are small numbers. My question to any of the team members or any of the speakers is, how do banks and GCCs deal with competitors for redundancy?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question? How do GCCs oblique
banks deal with redundancy vis-a-vis the competitors?
Okay.
Organizational redundancy? You're talking about a potentially you becoming redundant as an organization, or?
Yeah.
Great question. All right, so do we have, or we have to stop? Yeah, probably I'll take 30 seconds to answer before that. So it's survival of the fittest, right? If you don't do what you're expected to do in terms of your business model and don't have your KPIs and KRIs, there are enough use cases in the world, and the most commonly told use case is Kodak, right? So that story is there. So it's always about having your own strategy and making sure that you stick to your strategy. There are obviously various different things, right? There is a risk of executing the strategy, and also, even if you execute that strategy, there is a risk of executing the strategy too. So if you don't do both, then potentially you will be at fault, and there could be a valley down the line.
Kodak is one, and Nokia is another example, I guess. Do you want to add, sir?
Yeah, BlackBerry is another one. So
right.
Basically, ability of any organization to pivot, understand the pivotal points, pivot, and adapt the new things. These are the three things which are going to keep them away from being redundant. And every company can really figure it out how to do that. They run a lot of innovation programs or something like that. But ability to pivot is one of the most important competency organization needs to have to save themselves from redundancy.
Right.
I think the bottom line that's actually right now coming, and the GCCs are truly feeling this one, is you either disrupt or you will be disrupted. Right. Whether you are a 100-year-old company or a 1-year-old company, it doesn't matter. I think the playing ground has actually become equal for everyone to disrupt. So now the larger organizations, however big they are also realizing the pain or the speed and the agileness at which they need to be really operating. So this has become the norm of the day. So right. Just wanted to...
I can add there, actually, you would have noticed and seen in the content business, wherein now cord cutting is happening and broadcast in the linear channels consumption is going down, and a lot of broadcasters are, or almost everyone is moving towards the digital. So I think that's the natural evolution to see that how they become relevant into the business, how they make sure when the users are moving from the linear channel, something is available on the digital consumption, and that's the initial investment one needs to do before it starts maturing. So I think that's the point. You need to identify the trends early. You need to start investing in that early, and then make yourself relevant.
Sure. I'll just take 30 seconds more. I have two small questions. One is on the AI part, technology, where as an HR professional myself, I use AI, which has helped me in recruiting and helped me in reducing duplicacy. But also AI has its own disadvantages. I would want you to highlight in two disadvantages for a company at large. And second is for the person from Warner Brothers, is how, as a storyteller, you have National Geographic and other companies. How do you keep abreast with that, with your competitors?
Probably that's a content question. I may not be the right person to answer that. But on AI, we use it very judiciously. We have an internal AI governance council. So I think all the AI use cases goes through that before we start using and implementing. A lot of machine learning use cases we are doing, which we use for our some of the media content processing and things like that. But AI, we are very judicious in all those use cases.
There are a few other people who are willing to ask, but just a very quick thing. Most of the GCCs are actively looking into these disruptive technologies, including the AI, ML. But the question is, what is the ROI, right? They are willing to invest. They are willing to see the results. But if there is no ROI, or how much money I'm going to be spending, and how long will it take, what is the complexity, and what is the disruption that's going to happen, and if there is no bottom line, the companies has to seriously evaluate, right? Should we wait? I mean, we are not, with all the due respect to the AI, we are saying that, I mean, hey, let's take a look, see whether it becomes even more palpable, even more applicable for our kind of a setup and our organization and the work that we are doing, and where it makes sense, companies are ready to jump in.
Sure. I just wanted to mention something.
Yeah, so one perspective I want to add, like with regards to the AI question that you mentioned, right? So a lot of focus is there on basically how to use AI to increase productivity and make predictions. But the other angle to it, right? Like, so QE for AI, right? How do you actually make sure your AI models are doing the right thing? A couple of things that you mentioned is that could be the challenges, right? That many organizations are actually facing at this point of time is what is the ethical usage of those things and what is the, bias that is there within those models exactly. So those are some of the things that currently like organizations like Quality Engineering Foundation, which I talked about, which I'm also the co-leadership of, is actually going to define the standards within that particular space and any other technology similar to that so that we can actually have some governance and some guardrails around that as well. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. There was one another question, please.
Sorry. Can I take this, like quick 10 seconds? Because I think my mic was just ordered. So, hi, my name is Prashant. I am one of the co-founders for a age tech startup. We all know that we hear fintech, agri-tech, health tech, but age tech is something that we are trying to solve for aging in India. So my question is, I know that medtechs, etc., are evolving, and specifically for Commander Sir, you is, if we are building in something on generative AI to solve for non-intrusive interventions, how do you see that as a play in the geriatric care space? And you as GCC leaders who've been working on MLs, AIs, etc., how do you see age tech as an evolving market in India, specifically knowing that India is going to age very soon? I mean, we know that US markets, European markets are quite matured, but how does age tech become the next fintech? Any thoughts on that? Would love to learn from you leaders.
No, it's a great question. Probably I'll just take a small pivot extension of your own question to say that, hey, maybe most of the other developed countries, right, as compared to, like, for example, Japan, right, or some of the European countries in the north, right? So, questions?
So if you have a specific use case for geriatric non-intrusive, I'll be happy to have a conversation offline. My family is filled with about 14, 15 doctors. I also work with a couple of NGOs on that. Most importantly, I mean, as you rightly mentioned, geriatric care probably in India right now is nascent, absolutely number one. And number two, our demographic dividend is pretty different. We are less than 32 on average. So geriatric is for average Indian population is 35 years away, right? But there is an absolute great amount of opportunity in Far East Asia and then some of the Central Europe, if you want to really look at it. But again, it depends on what the use case that you have when you talk about geriatric, non-intrusive, healthcare plan, right?
Absolutely. I think I'll catch up with you offline just in the interest of time. Any other answers? Just before one last thing. So GCCs are big. You have huge employees. Just want to know, there's so much of relocated workforce, working women. Proud to say that a lot of working women India counts to be having one of the highest population of working women today. How is employee family care being looked at from a GCC leader standpoint? Do you really think that their families should be cared as part of their wellness, or you're taking care of the employees? That's more than enough.
It's already part of. Employee family care is part of the overall healthcare program for every employee in most of the GCCs, right? Because they will get the similar, if not the same, healthcare benefits. Then they also get to participate in proactive, healthcare monitoring. All those things are already there, right? And to your point about particularly women, I'll tell you, I think the notion that women can't come to office, the notion that women can't work for longer hours, the notion that women will only work for one day at office, those days are long gone. I'll tell you why I say that. I've been in this industry for a reasonably long time, and I always had the highest percentage of women. I lead cybersecurity. 40% of my team are women across levels. And I have never experienced a problem, right? It's about the mindset and presuming that women can't come to office, women don't want to come to office, all that. If you're in doubt, best thing is don't presume and ask questions, and they'll probably tell you, no, you are thinking wrong.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head. They not just work, they are also the highest number of hours that they give in as caregivers. So that's where I wanted to understand. I'm sure there might be programs to support that. Yeah. Thank you.
There was another question. Yes, please. Sorry.
Firstly, I would like to thank all of you. I request the crowd to please give a big round of applause for the lovely panel that we have got, because keeping us alive, like, after the lunch is fabulous. Really appreciate all your energy. Well, my question is, like, I come from a corporate as well as also academic background. I really appreciate, I was listening to Manish, that they have developed their own data lake as well. Wherein back in our colleges or the universities, what is happening is, when I reach out to GCCs and everybody, like, to help students to get an opportunity for an internship or something like that, they say, like, we work only with the tier 1 or tier 2 colleges, something like that. So if you can add some, if you can just add something to it, that will be of great value.
Good question. Actually, we actually, as part of our initiative, we run apprenticeship, and we really, we invest heavily on hiring a student from fresh grade. 33% of our workforce in Hyderabad, out of 4,000 people, we actually build through the fresh grades, which we have taken in and across Telangana. Also, being diversity, we actually take it from overall India, but a large population comes from here. Also, for doing any kind of apprenticeship or internship, we really promote all IT institute who are in and around Telangana or even Hyderabad. We go visit them and we do it. We also run programs whereby Decode is one of the things that we have started very recently, where we work with the AI analytic firm or the magazine, and we are actually launching a session where we are actually bringing any student to come and understand, learn from us. That's what we are doing, and we'll continue to invest in the new generation, and that is the really a team which can really build culture right from the bottom, and that's what our vision is also, that we'll continue to invest here. Yeah.
As you rightly mentioned, this is definitely a challenge, because every organization, they have a talent acquisition strategy and policy, right? You can't completely deviate from that. But here is what we can do, because we are in the industry for a reasonably good number of years. We have reasonably good number of connects. For example, there is an institute, and somebody of, say, a Fortune 50 company doesn't go to that campus. But if we find somebody, they reach out, then we probably will give them a referral to some other organization. A year down the line, nobody looks at it, whether you came from IIT, right, or NIT. After 2 years of experience, you can move from one company to the other. That's not a problem.
So maybe a small different twist to your expectation is, maybe a lot of GCC, if they're not coming to your organization, nothing prevents you from inviting leaders and whatever, maybe a fintech or medtech or data, etc., to give guest lectures in your organization where the students can know that these are the technologies that is happening, and if they are to spruce up in terms of their certification during their qualification stage, would go in a big hand, because after some time, as they said, the institute is just starting, and then it's the talent and what you can bring to the table.
To all the speakers, and follow up with this question, is I request, and I'm an HR professional, I've been teaching HR in management colleges. My request is to have all the internship during April, May, June, because I have a lot of companies asking me to take in their students only during this time. But whereas companies want internships through the year, that will not be possible, as because the students need to attend the colleges. So that's my request.
Thanks, ma'am. Hi, I'm Shweta Raina. I'm the... Oh, sorry.
Go on, please.
Sorry. I started my career in McKinsey in New York and moved to India after my MBA at Harvard, where I worked on the employability crisis. So, since many of you were discussing what to do with the millions of graduates, we have about 10 million graduates every year, and less than 3% of them are considered employable. So through our foundation, as well as my company, Talarang, we upskill these graduates. I'm actually here in my capacity as the president of the Association of Business Women for Maharashtra in Commerce and Industry. And just a comment that there's no women on the panel, but I really liked the response you gave on women. So just want to appreciate the empathy of the men on the panel. So it's really great to see that, you know, you're vouching for our cause. But on
Actually, sorry, on that particular note, it was a great observation, I would say. Yesterday, when we were looking into the panel, I said that there is no diversity on this one.
No
right?
worries, no worries. Yeah, but I think you still did address the issue. So thanks for doing that and, you know, sticking up for us. I just actually, you know, wanted to talk about this recent concept of how do we upskill at scale? Because when we are upskilling 20 people or 30 people, it's possible. But at GCCs, when you're upskilling, without technology, are you looking at doing this in-house or are you looking at partnering with outside organizations? I was just curious because we worked with the Deloittes and the EYs, but they're still at a smaller scale than some of the large-scale GCCs that are there in Hyderabad. So I was just wondering.
I mean, there might not be one size fits all kind of an approach across the GCCs. It depends on in what phase of the organizational growth they are and what kind of a competency that they're actually trying to build. Probably I'll just go towards my right wing, not that they're on the right side, they're physically on the right side.
Okay.
Prakash, I have some input on the gender issue. Madam, actually I invited 3 GCC leaders. They're all from women GCC leaders.
No,
but you people are all very busy. They're all traveling all over the globe. They are not able to come. Whereas
the men are more
I have to bank
supportive.
on. So,
the men are more supportive of the cause, right?
So women GCC leaders are very busy at this point of time.
No worries,
unfortunately.
no worries. Well, we're here to, they're all supporting the cause, so that's totally fine. I just had to, it was just a joke. You know, in the women's circles, we call these panels manels. So yeah, no, but jokes apart, I was just wondering because, you know, when you look at an Infosys, right, they've already built an in-house team to upskill their entire workforce. So is that the vision for the GCCs, that each of you will almost have a upskilling internal unit to take care of your workforce, from their mental health to their skills, you know, all of that?
So I'll add some perspective from my side. Of course, you can also add that. Like, it all depends upon the type of the skill that you're talking about, right? If there is a certain skill that they don't have natively within their organizations, and of course, if they want to actually upskill very fast, and if you are actually offering that, right, in a way that can scale for their needs, of course, that will go well, right? But if it is something that they are really good at themselves, and they can handle it, they may not come to you at that point of time. So that's the perspective that I would give.
So it's not a fixed approach, basically. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I would agree that it's not a fixed approach, but something that we really go ahead and do it is, we try to inculcate 3 types of cultures into our organization. Culture of performance, culture of perfection, and the third culture is culture of cultivation. Every individual in the team should think himself as responsible for cultivating other people. So for example, I do have a reverse mentor who mentors me and cultivates me.
That's wonderful.
And then others will try to mentor other people. So imposing a culture of cultivation is important. Then you go to Deloitte to build those skills. You do it in-house. Really doesn't matter. At the time, you take those calls and ensure that you do it. So that is how we really enforce it into our organization.
That's wonderful.
A quick 30 seconds. I was in a round table with the Chief Principal Secretary, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, at the IIIT before the AIML Summit. And some of the GCC leader, without naming, said, 2% of my organization does AIML, or they know data. The whole world is going to be impacted with the AIML, artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
What is the policy and what are the steps ahead that we can partner with the institutes and the government to see everybody at different stages of proficiency can be trained? A big opportunity exists for that.
All right, very nice. I think we are
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. We are kind of wrapping up. One rapid fire question. If you were to give back to the startups, 1 word, 2 word, 3 words, okay? What will you do for the startup?
Act boldly.
Sorry. Okay.
Never give up.
Seek apology, not permission.
deep research in your area, I would say, so that you can back your arguments.
Have conviction in what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, stay nimble. Be fast.
Great. What would I say? I'm sorry. You guys have covered it, so I'm all good. Hey, thanks a lot to all the panel members who have actually spared their time on a busy day to actually come share their thoughts with you. Truly, truly appreciate it. One big round of applause, please. One big round of applause, right? Truly appreciate it. And hopefully this would have been beneficial, helpful to all of you. And as we actually mentioned, the leaders are going to be here. If you need to partner, get a suggestion. Make them as one of your mentors or seek a suggestion. They will be very willing to do that. We want the startup ecosystem to flourish and not only support the overall ecosystem of the startup, but also the GCC world. Truly appreciate once again. Good luck, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. These LA dignitaries have lightened up with the insights about the GCC, the Global Capability Centers, how they are extended their excellence in focused areas leading to R&D and innovation. Now it's a time to extend our gratitude. I request Jay sir to felicitate the dignitaries. Yes, please. Big round of applause, please. The panel deserves the enlightenment.
Check, check, check.
I expect round of applause continues throughout the felicitation, please. That will be giving what we can give back to the panel.
Check.
Thank you so much for your kind attention.
contagiante. Positiva. Nós temos uma imensa capacidade de mudar o mundo e nossas vidas com os nossos